Good afternoon from Manila. The local meeting I organized for this year's IKT Congress will reflect on the participatory nature of curatorial practice. I will be in conversation with artists and curators from the Philippines and Indonesia. They are Mark Salvatus, Mayumi Hirano, and Taufik Darwiz. We will reflect on the ways local approaches can articulate the notion and structures of connection. As such, the discussion will respond to three key ideas from last year's keynote speech at the Congress. They are cooperation instead of competition, intensity instead of exclusivity, and the local instead of the international. Thus, our examples will focus on curatorial methods used to engage projects and practices that are variously described as participatory, relational, or interventionist.
The conversation that follows is part of my long-standing interest in the participatory and collective dimensions of curatorial practice. It interrogates the intersections between the curatorial and what we might refer to as the collective. While many of us have worked with communities both within and beyond the art world, how can our efforts also contribute to bringing about the emergence of new imaginations of networks, connections, or communities themselves? What curatorial methodologies can we create and develop to respond to the urgencies of our world? While participation and collaboration have been often used to refer to specific projects, how might they be constructed through local contexts and vernacular narratives? This interest is greatly informed by my observations of artistic engagements and curatorial methodologies that are shaped by and tightly knit into the social fabric of local art worlds. The pandemic drastically reframed our practices as artists, as curators, and as cultural workers. My reflections on my own practice led me to realize that I would like to pursue even more long-term, multi-sited, and differently scaled curatorial engagements. From around 2018 to more recent, I have collaborated with colleagues and friends from the Philippines and elsewhere. These include my long-term research on art and gentrification with women artists Alma Quinto, Natalie Dagmang, and our women partners from Escolta, Manila, my participation in the platform Philippine Contemporary Art Network as coordinator for exhibition and curatorial analysis, the Curating in Local Context workshop series I designed and facilitated with colleagues from the Department of Art Studies at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, my exchanges and discussions with colleagues for the interlocutor program of the forthcoming Asia-Pacific Triennial at the Queensland Art Gallery and Gallery of Modern Art in Australia, and my curatorial work for the forthcoming Asian Art Biennial at the National Taiwan Museum of Fine Arts in Taichung, Taiwan. Curators and artists who cooperate with partner communities know that the exchanges that transpire in the process are unpredictable and open-ended. These collaborations do not neatly translate into traditional exhibition formats, foremost because they are by nature organic and generative. I am interested in the translations that happen in this processual approach to curating. How do collaborations and exchanges enter the exhibitionary economy? What ethical concerns should artists and curators consider in these contexts of work? How do local practices generate trajectories for the curatorial that are vital, eloquent, and responsive? How can these curatorial methods produce new understandings of togetherness and cooperation? These are the articulations of connection that the collective Load na Dito, the curator and performance artist Taufik Darwiz, and myself reflect on in this recorded conversation.
This is the first intercontinental conference of colored peoples, so-called colored peoples, in the history of mankind.
Mr. Ridwan Kamil, I'm the mayor of Bandung. On behalf of 2.7 million happy people of Bandung, happy people of Bandung, Bandung, happy people of Bandung, happy people of Bandung, people of Bandung, happy people of Bandung, happy people of Bandung.
Halo, saya Taufik Darwis dari Bandung, Indonesia. Saya adalah salah satu inisiator Bandung Performing Art Forum. Saya bekerja secara independen dan fleksibel sebagai seorang dramaturg, sutradara teater, kurator seni pertunjukan, dan produser. Latar belakang saya bekerja dan bagaimana saya bekerja mempengaruhi minat saya untuk mendorong karya-karya transdisipliner yang mengeksplorasi kompleksitas isu dari kewargaan. Dalam setiap proyek saya tidak terlalu mengerti bagaimana setiap peran mempengaruhi satu sama lain. Jadi sampai saat ini saya tetap membiarkannya begitu sejauh itu produktif dan tetap kritis. Tapi yang kemudian bisa saya sadari adalah bahwa fleksibilitas saya dalam memposisikan di berbagai peran itu lahir dari kenyataan lingkungan seni pertunjukan yang saya hidupi, khususnya teater. Ada semacam kekosongan dari sebuah proses historis seni pertunjukan, terutama di hubungan etos kesenimanan dan bayangan sosialnya di dalam struktur ekonomi politik terbaru di Indonesia, lebih khususnya di Bandung. Bandung adalah kota ironi. Bandung adalah ibu kota Asia Afrika yang mempunyai sejarah resistensi orang-orang kulit berwarna yang sangat kuat, tapi juga kota yang sering menggusur hunian warga menengah miskin di kampung kota, kehunian yang seragam dan buruk seperti apartemen murah. Bandung adalah kota yang cantik dan banyak taman-taman kota tematik yang membuat orang senang, dan katanya indeks kebahagiaan warga kota Bandung juga melonjak karena itu, tapi taman-taman tertentu dibangun di atas lahan penggusuran. Terlebih salah satu tamannya dinamai Taman Konferensi Asia Afrika, dengan pernyataan sikap dan patung-patung setengah badan para founding fathers berdiri di atasnya. Sektor wisata dan hiburan juga berkembang pesat. Kafe-kafe menjamur, dan sektor ekonomi industri kreatif seperti musik dan fashion anak muda bertumbuh dan menyebar semakin meningkat drastis. Menikmati kegagahan dan keistimewaan menjadi seorang seniman. Sementara calon penonton yang dibayangkan sedang menikmati indah dan cantiknya kota Bandung dan peningkatan daya beli yang mereka banggakan juga. Jadi saya beranggapan jangan-jangan yang dibutuhkan masyarakat hari ini dari seni pertunjukan hanyalah aspek pleaser. Karena kalau saya tetap percaya pada etos dan estetika teater politik di masa rezim militer Soeharto, saya tidak bisa melihat dan mengakui bahwa saya membutuhkan suatu lingkungan support system untuk menghadapi perubahan yang terjadi, yaitu sebuah lingkungan yang diciptakan dari proses relasional, tidak lagi bekerja secara terpusat ataupun bekerja sebagai sebuah kelompok dengan mentalitas gangster. Maka dari itu, sejak tahun 2013, saya memutuskan untuk memulai membaca ulang sejarah teater melalui perspektif penontonan untuk menentukan posisi dan peran saya. Saya melakukan penelitian terhadap penonton untuk mendapatkan pengetahuan sejauh mana pendekatan teater-teater politik terdahulu dapat membentuk subjektivitas politik penontonnya.
Saya? Ya. Sendirian? Iya, sendiri.
Investigasi kemudian berlanjut pada pertanyaan, apa perbedaan dari menjadi seniman dan menjadi warga? Jadi melalui perspektif fleksibilitas peran saya dan konteks wargaan terkini di kota Bandung, saya telah berpikir, alih-alih menjadikan seni pertunjukan sebagai media untuk mengartikulasikan kembali moralitas tertentu untuk diketahui kembali oleh penonton, saya lebih cenderung untuk memposisikan seni pertunjukan sebagai wahana untuk membuat orang memahami dan menegaskan peran mereka dalam sistem ketidakadilan sosial yang destruktif.
Teror ini sebenarnya untuk publik, bukan untuk aktor. Yang kedua, bagaimana teror itu tapi terlihat oleh aktor dan penonton. Nah, latihan dasarnya seperti ini. Kalau siapa namanya? Vita kalau mau coba nggak apa-apa ya. Kalau nggak coba juga nggak apa-apa. Ya. Latihan dasar gini Kak, di sini lebih jelas loh ya. Ini harus dekat ya. Ini latihan dasarnya. Kalau kena, ya pasti hancur kan ini loh. Oke. Selanjutnya tak lu lihat nih. Ya. Ini kalau kena gue pasti hancur kan.
Maka dari itu, di dalam praktik berkesenian saya selalu ada upaya untuk menggerakkan diri, menyapa, dan bekerja dengan komunitas atau subjek yang berbeda. Saya kerap bekerja secara interdisipliner, seperti dengan seniman generasi sebelumnya yang memiliki politik kesenian yang berbeda, atau komunitas musik underground, peneliti kota, jurnalis, warga korban penggusuran, beberapa seniman lintas media, dan yang terakhir adalah dengan praktisi fashion. Selain secara strategis, hal itu dapat menjadi ruang bersama untuk mencoba berbagai pendekatan dan bahasa yang berbeda, tapi juga sekaligus dapat mengembangkan penonton baru. Saya juga dapat melakukan eksplorasi artistik dan menawarkan kecenderungan estetika yang selalu berubah di setiap proyek. Setidaknya saya sadar bahwa daripada mempromosikan kesatuan pengalaman, seni pertunjukan hari ini dia perlu bekerja dalam kontradiksi, dalam perbedaan, pemisahan, dan fragmentasi. Justru karena kontradiksi dan kompleksitas yang diolah di dalam seni pertunjukan seperti itu, saya bisa mengupayakan suatu kondisi terjadinya politik. Karena itu, sebagai seorang warga seni dan warga suatu kota dan punya fokus pada isu-isu kewargaan, saya bisa mengeksplorasi hubungan yang kompleks antara narasi besar dan narasi personal dan memproduksi pengetahuan atasnya dan menjadikannya sosial. Disinilah peran saya sebagai sutradara teater, kurator, dramaturg, atau produser untuk menawarkan pengalaman dan pengetahuan alternatif tentang makna individu dan sosial. Kontradiksi yang berkelindan di dalam seni pertunjukan bagi saya merupakan peluang politik yang penting. Membuat saya serta subjek atau komunitas yang terlibat, baik sebagai kolaborator dan penonton, dapat memahami peran masing-masing dalam sistem sosial kehidupan sehari-hari yang semakin kompleks.
Load na Dito is an artistic and research project based in Manila, Philippines. Developed as a homemade culture, currently located in Cubao, Quezon City. It uses any possible space as a site for knowledge sharing, inquiry, and discussion. Load na Dito is a local top-up system for cell phone credit, where you can load anywhere as long as you can see a sign Load na Dito. Developing it as a model, the initiative makes projects in different locations, building new energies to hub load. By organizing and co-organizing a wide range of programs, Load na Dito hopes to critically address the questions of participation and collaboration in the relation of practice of contemporary art. Since 2016, we have been developing various ways of engagements, from symposiums, public performances, one-day exhibitions, publications, and a game. And as the world shuts down in the beginning of 2020 because of the pandemic, we have to pause, reflect back, and recalibrate our ways of working with others and the critical presentation of contemporary art. We would like to share to you one project of Load na Dito last year, adapting to the situation of isolation, forced restrictions, and slow movements. A delicate and careful process of connection through critical and productive conversations. Flex is a listening and talking game. Participants sit in a circle around an empty bottle in the center. There is no moderator. The game proceeds by spinning the bottle. The person pointed by the bottle picks out one word from the deck of Flex cards, or the previous person's talk, and freely speaks about what comes to his/her mind triggered by the word. Although the content of the talk does not have to be related to what the previous person has said, the participants need to always keep their ears open to what others say because they never know when their turn will come. It is up to the battle, which facilitates horizontal relationships among the participants. Hence, in Flex, the flow of the conversation is connected by words instead of the content. We have collected the words discussed since the first Flex held in October 2019, which currently totals about 500 words. The words are printed on cards to be incorporated in the game. In response to the restrictions on physical gathering, we decided to try Flex by transferring to the online space. And to our surprise, it turned out to be an effective platform of sharing, so much more than we had expected. First of all, it became an opportunity for the participants who had been isolated in their homes to reflect and voice out their daily observations, feelings, and thoughts while unpacking the meaning of familiar words. The participants were also able to exchange words with others without the responsibility of making direct response, but still being able to stay connected through the simple choice of words even when the conversation was disrupted by an unstable internet connection. Typically, an exhibition would have preset concept, but we intentionally did not set any theme or guidepost. The participating artists, while in dispersed places, continuously listened to each other's voices by playing Flex regularly, through which kindness and imagination for each other in uncertainty were exchanged, naturally creating a shared sense of immaterial space. Perhaps this process is best captured in the word dawn that came up at the very first online Flex meeting, where all of us met for the first time. It is neither night or morning, while it could be simultaneously night and morning. The exhibition was formed by the links of intentions to receive such elusive presence. The poetic language, as described by Trinity Minha, provides us to speculate the indefinability of the exhibition sought for, through the notion of poetic language. Minha said that I am certainly not referring to the poetic as the site for the consolidation of a subjectivity, or as an aestheticized practice of language. Rather, I'm referring to the fact that language is fundamentally reflexive, and only in poetic language can one deal with meaning in a revolutionary way. For the nature of poetry is to offer meaning in such a way that it can never end with what it is said or shown, destabilizing thereby the speaking subject and exposing the fiction of all rationalization. The exhibition packets on the street emerged from the process of flexing and stretching words and nuances, weaving an organic flow of association and disassociations. It's a multiplicity of lines linked through reciprocity, receiving and offering. In hindsight, creating the exhibition as a process shaped by connecting small, fragile, and unexpected events without a predetermined direction may have been an expression of consciousness that refuses to be packaged and consumed. It was an attempt to question the conventional value of clarity and accessibility, to liberate language from its traditional power relations, and to open up a shared space to rework on the normalized meanings.
We're gathered for a conversation, so it's a follow through on the presentations we will gather in the video project.
So our project that we are working on currently are more about us trying to reconnect with our friends because as you might be very aware of it, but in Manila, we are still not being able to move around, and to meet in person is almost not an option yet. So we miss physical connections, but it's impossible. So we are trying to find a way through using these internet tools. How can we still stay in touch, and also not just sending information, but how can we share the same kind of space and time?
Becomes a tool for us also to to not only conversation but to in a way navigate how our way to communicate.
And if I may add to what Mark said, you know, he mentioned about the language and the conversation, but me coming from Japan and my English is not so, you know, native. And also, I don't speak Filipino. So every time we have this kind of conversation, I stumble upon the language barrier. So for almost there, because we use whiteboard, we invite people to also draw, not just the language. So it's almost an experiment for us to see how we can communicate beyond, you know, depending too much on the language. And I think this is a really good time to rethink the possibility of miscommunication and misunderstanding.
Right.
You know, it would maybe open up a new way of understanding each other. So
I want to make like a platform about the notion of pleasure. Like I want to make like a platform to can invite the performing art artists and also the pleasure activists or pleasure worker to join together and make like some exchange to explore the limitation about the possibilities of performing art transformation to activate the social and also how to we can move in the pleasure aspect in the society.
How do we sustain that intensity, right? That is associated with that kind of exhibition production, this large scale exhibition production. I feel now that it should be necessary that we also think in terms of long-term engagements and not just work on spurts of projects. Meaning, from my end, it's like working on a concern over a long period of time and looking for ways to work with others who have that same kind of thinking about projects and how art can insert itself seamlessly into the everyday lives of people.
Give me space to back my activity in the specific issue in Bandung. Also to reviewing about the how we as a generation of post military regime Suharto have a how we can like how we can build how we can use the mode of like networking also or how we can how we choose or we can use the mode of as an artist we didn't have to have a collective or like a company. So we're thinking about the how we can grow up the support system in the reality of our situation.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Taufik, because coming from contexts that do not have solid infrastructure for culture,
yeah
it's it has become especially challenging for all of us. In the Philippines, this cultural infrastructure has always been very unstable. We have funding, but as I said many years before, also presenting to colleagues from overseas. And I think the question was, how do we realize the projects? I told them that we have to work around this notion of patchwork funding, just so we can realize projects of a certain scale. Patchwork because we get from different sources, but also we are quite wary. We have to also choose who will support our projects because there are implications there. What do you think? What kind of support structure do you think can help strengthen the art world here in Manila and Bandung?
Or opening up some idea of support system within our networks, not necessarily the one who has money,
right,
but support that is also not only about monetary or money, but the support that equally can be or can be shared. So like the skills or that the time, the capability of mostly individual artists also and initiatives. So I think to create some kind of big network of networks is a good way. So that's also already a support. In a way, it's like a grassroots level, and it's still unstable. So it's like the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, you rely on it, but it's unstable. But still, the connection is ongoing. So something like that. Like suddenly we have a project. So I think this kind of support is you don't expect support, but you kind of know there will be there, and you will be also available for them. So
social contract in our friendship. To if I help you, you have to always me. You have to help me too. Like yeah, we just like we have like a joke about that, but I think it's also serious in the way of what we have is social capital and also good cultural capital to yeah to realize what our support system.